Architectural Builder Supply is pleased to present you with this recording of the technical question that is listed in the title of this video.
This call may be monitored and recorded for quality assurance.
You do sell those, but I just wanted to confirm if that set is really the kind I'm going to need for this project. Is that something maybe you can elaborate on?
Yes.
Okay. So now I know the Rixson has other types of pivot hinges, and I wanted to know what the difference, why a 173 would be specified. Is it for offsetting in a certain way, or what exactly?
I would say the only difference between a 173, which is the original item mentioned, and any other pivot would be the fact that it's cleaner at the bottom, that it's going to have simply an anchor that's going to go into a floor. If you wanted to have less obvious hardware at the floor, a 173 could be a very good option.
Okay. And this is an offset pivot set, so when that door opens, we're replacing doors that were hinged. Are they going to be, how is that going to function? Is that going to function differently than a hinged door would? And would that we need to adjust our stops because of this?
No, to both questions. I mean, it's going to operate. It's going to behave the same way. Positioning of the pivot in relationship to the rabbet of the frame would not be something that would change. Where you locate, because you're dealing with that fixed value, where you locate the pivot into the floor would be, determined as a result of that. That would be what you would determine.
Okay.
You obviously have new doors and frames?
Yeah, we have new doors.
Okay.
Yeah,
Sure.
we have solid core doors we're going to be putting in. We have new frames we're going to be putting in. But I just wanted to know before, we're setting up the frame right now probably before we get the pivots. So if I'm doing, let's say, a 3-foot door and we frame out for that 3-foot door, as I normally would, I'm assuming there wouldn't be much of a difference. I wouldn't have to frame it out any differently than if I were doing for a hinge.
I would agree with that.
Yeah, because I'm doing this now because I have to get tile up around it now. I can't really wait for the pivots to come in. So.
I stock those pivots.
I'm sorry?
I stock those pivots.
The Rixson 173s?
Yeah, that's not hard to ship. Those can be to you as quickly as you want.
Okay. And I guess my other question is, what's the weight value or weight limits on these? Are they because we have other doors that are much larger doors that are probably going to weigh more. Is there a specific weight limit to these particular hinges?
I see 150 pounds as the published weight rating.
150. All right. Do you have I was looking for some install instructions. I saw some YouTube videos for the Model 370 Rixson. Is there one for the 173?
Not that I'm aware of.
No. Okay. Anything similar? Because I do kind of need an idea before I finish everything, if this is the right way for me to go. If I can look at something that's showing the install of it.
I've been machining for these pivots and installing them for a couple of decades. You ask the question and I'll answer it.
Okay. All right. So if I get stuck, I can give you a call and find out.
Yes. All I need is the order number of the order that you've placed so I can pull up the pivot that you've installed.
All right. Since I am putting the frames in first, and I'm putting, for the header, I'm putting in 2x4s on top first, then putting the frame tight to that, the jamb tight to that for the header. Are these offset in any way that I would need to have more, material for these pivots to go into the top? The floor is not a problem. It's a concrete floor. But the header I'm a little concerned about.
I wouldn't be. The header will do practically no work at bearing the load of the door.
Okay. All right. It's all bared on the weight, on the ground.
Yeah, on the floor. Yes, sir.
On the floor. Okay. And what are the costs for these?
Let's take a look. I'm not looking at them. 232, but depending on the quantity, along with how many intermediate pivots you're going to need, you should send me an email so I can quote you the total. Sounds like you have more than one opening.
Yeah. What do you mean by intermediate openings?
Well, you know how, like on a 7-foot door, you have 3 hinges?
Right.
Yeah, the same rule applies to these offset pivots.
So if I have a 7-foot door, I need 3 hinges for this?
Well, you'll need an intermediate, certainly.
Oh, I thought the beauty of this is just a pivot at the top and the bottom, and you don't have to have another, no hinges on.
You don't have to, but the problem is any warp in your door, and your manufacturer will clear as invalid, claim as invalid any warranty claim for warp. 1 out of 10 doors guaranteed. 2 out of 10 is warp for sure. Just the natural environment. Wood being a sponge. So any installation less the proper meeting of definition for intermediates would be a problem if you had any warpage at all, which you will, slight, ever so slight. So that would be the concern with that.
Oh, okay.
If what they want is a concealed look, these offset pivots are not associated with concealed as much as center hung pivots are.
Yeah, that's what I assumed. Because with these offset, you'll see them on the outside, right?
You'll see them on the pull side, yes, sir.
Pull side of the door, yeah.
Yeah.
And but if you want a clean reveal, I would assume it's a center. That's a good question. What would the center one be? Which one would that be?
Well, you could use a 0128 if you wanted to go with a different manufacturer that might be slightly less expensive. By Rixson, it would be their 128. That would be a typical center hung pivot. Now, the problem with, of course, the center hung is that there is no possibility of an intermediate pivot, back to the same problem of any warp. Who's the manufacturer of the wood doors?
It's called Florida Florida Lumber Supply. It's a lumber yard that also specializes in doors.
So they're a distributor. So whoever the manufacturer of the door would be, you would probably very much want to review that warranty before you moved forward, because certainly the warranty is going to say, if the door is improperly hung, and that definition includes if you don't have any hinges in the middle and there's any warp, I've never heard of a door manufacturer who warrants that sort of installation. I would suppose if you had a core made of, structural lumber like timber strand, there's no warp in that stuff, but it does happen. Your 305 area code, I'm in Naples, you put a stack of doors at night when you go home. When you come the next morning, that top door is going to be cupped upwards. You flip it over the next day, you're going to come back, it's going to be cupped upwards. It's just, it's the nature of the animal.
Yeah.
Now, if you want concealed, why not go with a sauce? Why not go with a Tectus? Rixson's great. Their name is synonymous. They're the best, the whole 9 yards. But it may not be appropriate for your application, given the potential for warp, given the guarantee of warp, in fact.
Okay. All right. Well, that's really good information. No, I wouldn't do the sauce. They're definitely specifying a pivot hinge. I don't know if the Rixson's the best way to go for that either. That was just suggested by the designer. But I've never installed a pivot hinge myself. I've always done, hinge doors. Is there other pivot hinges that could be used besides the Rixson that would give a clean look and be worth looking into?
Well, they'll all come back with the same problem. If there's no intermediates, then there's no warranty on the door. But at that point, Rixson versus their competition, it's variations on a theme. I could make an argument for Rixson. I could make an argument for their competitors as well. I would see at this moment no reason to persuade you to go with a different manufacturer. And in fact, if 173 is the design that you're after, I don't know that anyone else actually makes that one, where there's no floor plate and it goes right into the concrete floor.
Mm-hmm. Right. Oh, okay. So you're saying all the other ones have the floor plate. Then installing this one that doesn't have the floor plate, I'm assuming that floor needs to be perfectly level, and that hole for the pivot needs to be perfectly straight as well.
Yeah. The installation of this stuff is best done by people who, it's not their first rodeo.
Mm-hmm.
It's got to be plumb, perfectly plumb. There's no second chances when you're doing this stuff. However, the first one's a little bit, the first installation has your full attention. After that, it's just, what do you deduct for the thickness of the collet on your router? Once you know that dimension, you don't have to worry about it again.
When these pivots go in, they're just installed by pressure? There's no epoxy or anything like that to hold them in place. It's basically a pressure installation.
No, I believe there is a function of like an expansion anchor at the bottom of that 173.
Oh, okay. Expansion anchor. That makes sense. Okay. All right. What's your email?
Oh, it's sales, SALES, at, and then same as the website, absupply.net.
Okay. And your name, sir?
My name is Richard.
Richard. Okay. And you said you're out of Naples. Is that where you distribute from? Or
my office is in Naples. We do a lot of distribution here, but we also do it where we're originally from in Chicago as well.
Okay. What's the turnaround time if I place an order? How long would something like this take to get to me in Miami?
It would really depend on the whole list of what you need, but realistically, everything we've talked about is in stock, and the answer to the question would be, 24 to 48 hours to ship, and then the method of transit to get down to you is, part of that. Worst case scenario, a week. Best case scenario is you overnight everything, and it shows up to you the next morning.
Right. Okay. All right. Great. All right. I'll send over a list of the doors that we're looking at getting for, and you let me know.
Yeah, not to, again, dissuade you from Rixson, the one thing, the Tectus or sauce idea would be not a problem when you've got those doors that are technically outside of the performance envelope of the 173. You got a door that's 200 pounds, there's going to be no problem with that. Okay. With a sauce or a Tectus. Well, certainly with a sauce, that's for sure. Tectus, I'm not as familiar with their load ratings without looking. But yeah, absolutely. I look forward to helping you. I've installed these things and machined for them for a very long time. I'm the guy with the constant splinters in his fingers.
Okay. So do you do install too still, or just mainly sticking with sales?
These days, I really look for ways to avoid doing it. I've done it for years, and it's, I'm not in my 20s anymore, so.
Okay. I understand that. All right, great. Thanks, Richard.
My pleasure, sir.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Architectural Builders Supply hopes you have enjoyed this program.